Hey, Rob Bowser here, antimethodgolf.com. This week in the Rob Report, I just want to talk about the halfway back position and the halfway back position as we're looking down the target line. And so we hear a lot of stuff about kind of where the club needs to be, and a lot of teachers tend to be or can be very dogmatic about the first move off of the golf ball. And so this week we're just going to kind of identify some of the real, what I would call we would call true swing killers in that first move, and there aren't very many of them. And then I want to look at the ranges of where tour players are. So just to kind of identify you with a couple things, we consider halfway back when we're looking at it from this camera angle, where the club shaft is basically parallel to the ground and the club head is essentially level or even with the hands. So here's Adam Scott, and so we look at him as he kind of moves back into this kind of what we call halfway back spot. And so he's a good one to start looking at, and here are the things that I look at as a teacher when it comes to kind of where the hands are and what the club is doing. So as I circle this, you can see, you'll hear teachers often refer to keeping the club head outside of your hands. So that club head is outside of his hands. Inside his hands, the club head would be back in here somewhere. Now, inside your hands is not a swing killer. There's plenty of awesome ball strikers who take the club back, and halfway back, the club head is well inside their hands. All right. The other thing that we see here is the face angle. So the club face here, it's not toe up. Oftentimes teachers are pretty dogmatic about getting the club into a toe up position. I don't teach like that. We don't recommend that, especially if someone slices it. Why would we have them spin the face more open? So, you know, with so many slicers out there and so many people who throw the club head in an attempt to square it, it's really not toe up. It's kind of toed in a little bit. And this isn't. He's not the exception. There's plenty of tour players. It's more the exception to see it toe up than it is to see it slightly toed in like this in the backswing, and we'll kind of walk through this. The other things that we look at is, you know, kind of what's happening with this right leg. Does the golfer kind of maintain their spine angle in the early part of the backswing? And if all things are good, I just kind of breeze through this with the student. You know, we want to kind of take note of what's going on, but by no means am I gonna spend a whole lesson on something in here, especially if it doesn't affect their downswing. The one thing that I would say for me, can be a swing killer is when someone spins the face open. So when the shaft's parallel to the ground in the backswing, and the leading edge of the golf club or the toe of the golf club, instead of being on this angle, it's draped back in there. So when someone really lays the face open and now the grooves of the club are looking up at the sky, that to me can really be just a killer in that first move. It's just hard to recover from there. But we'll just walk through some. We look at Davis Love here next. When he gets to where the shaft's parallel to the ground, you know, club is essentially on his hands. Leading edge of the golf club is a little bit where the toe is closer to the golf ball than the heel, so it's a little bit angled in. He's maintained his posture pretty well. He's maintained the flex in his right leg. Hunter Mahan, see the same look. This would be what's considered club head outside the hands. As we look at the leading edge of the golf club, again, it has not spun open. That's about the leading edge there at that point. Right leg has some flex in it. He's maintained his posture there at that point. So these are kind of common things that we'll see. Aaron Baddeley, he's a little more getting more towards the toe up spot, but it's still toed in a little bit. Club is basically right on his hands. Nick Price, you know, toed in a little bit. Club is a little bit outside his hands as he goes back. Webb Simpson goes a little bit inside his hands, right? Still, we see a similar face angle where the toe is a little bit closer to the ball than the heel of the golf club. We see more of a straightening of his right leg. He started kind of a little bit straight-legged, but certainly that right leg doesn't stay dead still. We do see him maintain his posture there in that first move back. Here's Tiger. right on his hands, and Tiger's a little bit closer to toe up. Here's another one of Tiger. We'll see Tiger rotate the face more to toe up at this spot. So again, there's a range here. There's a range of where the club face kind of moves to. Ernie Els, right on his hands, and he's more toe up. Rory, outside his hands, and his club's a little bit shut. Right leg's moving back a little bit. You can see that right leg doesn't stay dead still. There's a little bit of movement in it. Dustin Johnson, more of a shut face player. As he goes back, that right wrist really bends back. The knuckles of the glove hand curl under, and we'll see him rotate the face more shut early. So here, that club face is more on that angle. The grooves at halfway back are looking more towards the ground. Club is right on his hands, though. Right leg flexed. Maintains his posture early. We look at some drivers. So Bruce Lietzke, phenomenal ball striker. Jay Haas, phenomenal ball striker. We see the golf club go way outside his hands there. Freddie Couples, old Freddie. We see the club kind of go a little bit outside of his hands. His left arm and his hands go out. So as he moves back, his hands don't move to the inside. His hands move kind of out and up. Payne Stewart. Club face is a little bit more shut here for Payne. Face is pointed more down. Tom Watson. Club goes a little bit inside of his hands. But these are the things that you want to notice and kind of go when you read an article or when someone says to you everything's got to go here, here, and here. It's just not what the best players in the world do. It's just not what we see happening when we study truly great ball strikers. There's a range. Greg Norman. A little bit shut down. Ricky Fowler. Outside his hands and a lot shut down. So we see left arms kind of working in at this point. We see left arms more matching the target line on this point. But we also see left arms that are slightly outside the target line at this point. So there's a lot of room for individuality here in that first move back off the golf ball. There's nobody who's perfectly toe up. That's why that Medicus training aid, it's good for if you're a hooker of the golf ball maybe to spin the face open more, but it's not such a great one if you're a slicer of the ball. Bruce Lietzke here. He kind of takes that club head way more to the inside, and he's an awesome ball striker. And he hits fades, so when someone says you got to take it more inside to swing more out to right field and hit a draw, I just go, well, that's not what Bruce Lietzke does. Bruce Lietzke takes it inside, and he doesn't draw it like that. Goes inside, and he hits the best-looking fades. All right, so Rob Bowser, Anti-Method Golf, Rob Report, kind of just give you a sense of what's going on in that halfway back position, and there's a lot of room for individuality. Okay, we'll talk to you soon.